you.
Hello, good afternoon or good morning, wherever you're watching from or whatever time. It's September the 14th, Thursday afternoon Q&A, 3:30 to 4. Every week, we're here to give you a message of hope and encouragement and inspiration and motivation, or to answer questions. If you have any questions, then pop them in the Zoom chat, private message us on whatever platform you prefer, or get them to us ahead of time. We'll make a note and we'll make sure to answer them. And if you haven't already figured it out, for those of you who might be new, we have a rotation of different couples taking turns, and we're taking somebody else's turn today because they weren't able to do it. So here we are. And I was just asking the question earlier before we started recording, how many of you are pushing play? What lesson are you on? And do you remember why you need to push play on a rotating continuous cycle? It has to do with reprogramming our mind. And our mind will only function on that which you have trained it to function on. And if you're not getting the results in your life that you want and desire, here's a secret for you. However you see yourself, whatever value you see yourself as, like the more you adopt God's view of you, his perspective of your identity, the more your actions will line up with that and produce results in alignment with that. And so your belief system about yourself, your worldview, the lens through which you see life, will determine how you conduct yourself. Like your actions will absolutely always line up with what you believe. And the results you're getting are a result of your actions. And now sometimes I find myself, finding layers of this in myself as well, is of, well, it's not my fault that this happened in life. Well, is it? Maybe we don't know what we don't know. First of all, no one has a full concept or understanding of the laws of cause and effect in how our natural life interacts with the spiritual realm, the invisible that we can't always clearly see. But we do recognize that all of God's creation is literally cause and effect. 1 + 1 always equals 2. And even in the realm of miracles, 1 + 1 always equals 2. God's laws and the entire creation functions on laws that God established in the beginning. And even when we unknowingly violate those laws, it has an effect that if we're not aware of that law, we won't understand why we're getting this result. And it looks random and like causeless, and it's not our fault. So it seems. Again, we don't know what we don't know. And this isn't about blame shifting or trying to defend anything or argue a point. It's just to bring freedom with the realization that we are on a journey of growing and discovering. And the more we can adopt these cycles of truth and implement them in our lives, the more we will start planting good seed, knowing with assurance that we will have a better harvest down the road. Even if we're reaping bad seed from a bad harvest from a bad seed, in the past, you can still start planting good seed now and have a better harvest looking forward. Have a vision for what you want, and then start planting seeds in accordance to what you want. And that's the implementation of connection DNA. Push and play is to reprogram your mind, retrain how you think, and then that will produce new and better and more beneficial actions, which will produce more abundant results. Did you have anything to add to that? I just literally winged that one. I wasn't planning on talking about this, but apparently somebody's listening that needs to hear this because it just came up out of my spirit. I wasn't even planning on sharing that. So if it blessed you and it's what you needed to hear, hallelujah.
Yeah.
We do have some other things we wanted to talk about. If you have questions, please put them in the chat. Anything, you have questions about life in general, or spiritual matters, or the content especially, because that's what we're here for, is to bring support to your processing through the content.
Yeah, I was gonna say what you just shared too is that when we know those laws, then it produces responsibility, accountability, and ownership.
And when you do that, you can actually you empower yourself to have to do something about it.
Yeah. And guess what? A lot of those things shows us that we have control and power to produce and create what we want. We have control over our lives. And, as long as we stay in the victim mentality instead of mind, we are not able to see things. A lot of times it's shifting our blame on some other person or situation, and we will never have freedom in that. Excuse me, I'm so glad it's recorded. I think I'm gonna need to listen to that.
Well, whatever you believe, that is what you will see, and that is what you will find. And you will find everything you need to confirm what you believe, because that's what you're looking for.
Yeah.
And however, you then also relinquish your power to do anything about it and to change it. If it's always somebody else's fault, always the result or the cause or the fault of the situation imposed on you, and you had no control over it. Like maybe you were in a car accident. It wasn't your fault. Well, maybe it wasn't. However, you can take responsibility for how you respond to that, how you process through that, and how you will grow from that. See, here's the thing about forgiving. Forgiveness has to do with releasing. Okay, how do you release? You look for the blessing in that thing which happened that was unpleasant or did not feel right or beneficial. Okay, what did you learn from it? How did you grow from it? How are you a better person today for it? Well, how did it make you stronger? Start asking those questions, and you'll start looking for the blessing in that thing. And all of a sudden, you're looking for something different, and it'll be easier to release it and embrace the good that you can get out of it. Because remember, God is well able to work all things together for good to those who love him and are called according to his purpose.
Yeah.
So
it's good.
Back to you.
Yeah, it's really good. I was also thinking too, is that how many times did we block our future dreams because we are still stuck on the past hurts? And when we release those hurts, and when we release and forgive, then we're able to receive. And then it feels like our mind is clear to create what we want. We know what we want, and somehow doors open to us, right? Like possibilities, opportunities come our way, people come our way, blessings come because we released and we forgave, and now our hands are open. We don't have this anymore. That, a lot of times offense is when we have our hands clenched, right? And we're like I just so like you holding on to something, right? It's same inside of you. You hold that pressure, you have that it's like I don't want to release it because I don't want to get into that energy. I don't want to give energy to that. Sometimes we actually have to release it and express it and share, maybe, so it's gone, it's out of us, and then you can move on.
It reminds me of how people that don't feel heard will shut down, defend, or argue their position or their point. And it reminds me of the other thing that we have recently discovered, how that being heard is a basic human need that we all have.
Yeah.
And when somebody doesn't feel heard, they're probably not feeling like it's a safe place for them to speak.
Yeah.
Whether for whatever reason. And so I'd like to get into how can we create that safe place for people to feel heard, which to a lot of people, that's feeling loved to them, is to be heard. And when we do give somebody opportunity to be heard, we're also giving how would you say, we need to be aware that we may get puked on. And be prepared to know how to navigate and deal with that.
Yeah.
You know, to love people and to hear them in that way. And if they have a bunch of sewage down there that needs to be released, you may be the only avenue for them to release that. So and guess what happens once you feel heard? You'll be ready to receive. And others will be too. When you hear somebody out till they're completely finished. And how do you hear somebody? If they're not talking, you can help somebody feel heard and create a safe space by asking questions. And then listening until they're finished, and then they'll be ready to hear. And
is that okay?
Yes,
right.
Go ahead.
You know, in that too, is that if you're a person on the other side that's, you know, they're providing that space for them to be heard, also you don't have to receive the things that person is expressing
Or take it personally.
And also be open and ready to ask for forgiveness from the person that hurt them. Stay in that kind of in the space of that person and ask for forgiveness. You might be, you know, that person that needs to be there for that, the reason. And kind of, I don't know if am I clear on that?
Yeah, for the most part, if I believe I'm tracking with you.
You stand in place of that person and asking, like, for instance, if you were hurt by your father, you know, like, you can be there and say, you know, I ask for forgiveness on behalf of your father. I'm standing in his place right now and asking for your forgiveness. Would you forgive me?
It reminds me of how sometimes when people are releasing and dumping and they're sharing with you, and it almost feels like they're saying it to you.
Right.
And even though they're like almost subconsciously and unknowingly using you as the person that they would like to say this to, that was involved in that situation. And I've noticed this on people that have been deeply, deeply hurt, and they're very angry. And you get them uncorked where they start sharing, and they'll start sharing passionately about all the hurt and the pain about this or that person in their past, and they start talking to you directly, like as in they're talking to you as if, and it almost feels like they're using the you terminology when they're sharing what they think. And you can grab that opportunity and stand in for them and be that point of healing for them by speaking on behalf of the person who hurt them. And be and give them and help them channel that towards forgiveness and releasing and blessing by apologizing on behalf of the person who hurt them. By literally and help them feel heard by saying, I'm so sorry that this happened to you. You know, and I remember that happened to me with the bishop who excommunicated me. And his son, the bishop's son, he left the Amish himself, so he gets it, he understands, and he really has an uncanny resemblance to the bishop. Just looks like the younger version of our bishop, the old bishop, who has since passed away, of course. And so he has this resemblance, similar voice, similar countenance, similar appearance. And he was asking questions, and he just has this soft, gentle voice. And he asked me how about my story, and I told him how things went. And he said, with the most loving eyes, he said, I'm sorry that Dad did this to you. And I felt like as if he was speaking on his dad's behalf and asked for forgiveness. And that was the most healing thing he could have done.
Mm-hmm.
It was just amazing. So
we have that power to help another person. The other thing I was thinking too is that if you're the one that's been hurt and you're the one that needs to forgive and release, sometimes we need to ask for forgiveness in order to release something as well, because we don't know if the other person is still holding offense. And that's why there's still that connection there, a tie there. So there's so many, it's when we get into that place of humility where we're so ready to move on from that hurt, it's almost like you're ready to ask for forgiveness, you're ready to forgive, you're ready to release it, because you have nothing against that anymore. You just want to move on and bless that person or that whatever, and then just go and say, okay, I'm ready. I can move on now.
And what if you don't have a person to talk to or be heard by or to share or release?
Yeah.
Well, that's what your daily My Epic 30 Sanctuary practices are for.
Yeah.
And why you should be doing them every day, because we need a daily morning release valve to receive and start your day off with releasing and receiving, blessing and gratitude, and reminding yourself what you're grateful for and what you are worthy of as a child of God, and start your day off on that note, and the rest of your day will flow out of that river of gratitude.
That's good. Very good. I like that.
Any questions?
Yes.
If we have no questions, if you don't have any questions, then we must have covered it well enough to where we left no stone unturned, or
that's correct.
Or maybe you're all busy working while you're listening in and you can't type. So
and I believe every single one of us been in that situation, in that place where we need to move on and forgive, release, and then ready to receive. I think every one of you have been there, and maybe even most of you are in that place right now where it's time to do that. And there's probably a reason why we start talking about it. That was actually not our intent today, right?
Yeah, it wasn't really our topic.
But we're willing to switch our, switch
gears
and go towards where the need is.
And if you come from a history or a lifelong history of not being heard, of having your voice quenched, shut up and listen, or whatever environment you grew up in, that will quench your development of asking questions. Because if you're not heard, you're not liable to ask questions either. Because if you haven't been heard, you're not going to be open to receive. And asking questions is the very essence of opening yourself up to receive. And if you have a bunch of stuff down here that needs to be released and needs to be heard, you're not going to be asking questions because there's no space to receive. You get my point? So if you're not asking questions, wherever those questions may be, it could be your pastor, it could be your mentor, it could be God, it could be yourself even. Sometimes we need to ask your parents, whoever you're around. If you're not asking questions, whether it's to form people or whether it's to learn from others, if you're not asking questions, my
Mhm.
question to you is, are you releasing
Mhm.
to create space for you to receive and be even willing to ask questions?
Yeah.
If you're not releasing, you won't be able to love well, because you
Yeah.
can't ask questions in order to
Mhm.
express love to others and help them to feel heard.
That's right.
If you're not releasing, you won't be able to hear others.
Yeah.
And you will reap what you sow. If you want to be heard, then
Mhm.
you need to hear others.
You need to
If you
create the
want to,
space
if you
for
want
it.
to hear others, you need to release with sanctuary practices, or find somebody who has the maturity to listen,
Yes.
so that you can break this cycle and start loving others well by hearing them.
Yeah.
You can't do that without starting with yourself and making sure that the space is there to receive on your own part.
Mhm.
So go do those sanctuary practices every morning as many times you need to create the space for you to receive, so that you can ask questions to help others
Yeah.
to freedom as well in this area.
And in marriage, that is a really, really big thing of creating that space for your spouse to share freely. And then sometimes you would need to even pull it out of them too. Are you able to recognize where your spouse is maybe dwelling on something and need to express something? Do you know them well enough to see those things? And if you do see, do you know what kind of questions to ask so that they can open up and feel safe with you to open up? And or even ask those questions that we do in our Connection DNA course. Am I a safe place? Do you feel safe with me? How can I serve you? How can I be better? Right? What can I do better? And how can I improve? Those are great questions too, because I'm sure you probably hurt other people too before. So it's not just you being hurt, but we all hurt someone before, because we're all growing. We all experience things, and consciously or subconsciously, we love or hurt people. And when we become more and more mature and learn how to connect with people, how to have confidence and communication, commitment, how to express yourself, how to listen others, then we feel like we're stepping into the next thing. We're healing, right? And then we are able to create a deeper connection. And that's freedom.
Mm-hmm.
And that's love. And that's heaven and earth marriage. So there's so many things. I just feel like we're tapped into a really good topic today.
Yep.
Really good topic today. And so, another thing came to mind is the Jewish year is ending.
Mm-hmm.
And the new year is beginning. It's very significant in God's calendar. So I encourage you to take this week and see what are the things that you're still not willing to release, and some things that you are wanting to receive. But in order to receive, you need to release. What are the maybe things that you need to ask forgiveness for? Who do you need to talk to? Yeah.
That's a good closer right there.
Yeah.
All
Well,
right. Well, it is basically 4 o'clock. Our half hour's up.
since everyone have so many questions, we're probably going to answer them next time. Seriously, guys, send us questions. We are here for you and help you to learn and grow, as we are learning and growing as well. And we can learn and grow together. It's the best way to do it. right?
Yep.
All right.
Thank you for tuning in. This is your support network for the content.
Yes. And listen, if you don't know what we're talking about, you're listening and you're like, I have no clue what things they're mentioned there. Reach out to us, comment,
or push play.
push play. Well,
On-
some of them don't have the thing to push play on,
Well,
or they don't know where to go to push play on.
if there's anyone listening that doesn't know what push play means on the Connection DNA content, or you forgot how to access it, well, let us know.
Yeah.
We can help you with that. It's on the school group.
And if you're not part of that, let us know. We would be happy to talk to you about that and see if we can get you in.
All right.
Yeah.
See you next time.
Bye.